Oh, thank you. So today, the reason why we chose the topic post-processor and ISV kit encryption is because there's a lot of confusion in industry over what does that exactly mean. So first, we're going to go over what exactly is encryption. The encryption, it's technically taking one file, changing the code output, and giving you an encryption file that makes sense of it to the original program. So the product is yours, but the files within them, the data is scrambled so that it can't be disassembled and used in piece or in whole. So many times the reason why this is because no two manufacturers of post processors or simulation kits build them the same. There's code within the background that has to be built that takes years of experience to be able to put together. And one person may have a very elegant, streamlined code base for their TCL code to get to a certain outcome. And others may have an archaic methodology that arrives at the same location, just as much more difficult for a secondary person to understand. So the companies that are very, very efficient at this, they don't want that to be copied or used, and that's what sets them apart from their competitors. So that's IP, intellectual property for the builder. So what you can compare this to is just think about NX itself. The open architecture of NX allows you to use anything that's out of the box with NX, use the background data and the function, build your own API code to do another function, which then becomes yours. There's companies out there that have built very, very complex functionality sets that is built within NX, but is sold as their product, and that is that you built it upon the NX platform. We don't own the NX platform. We don't get to go into the source code of those functions, but yet we still have our product that's built upon it. Same principle of how post encryption works and how the TCL code works. So we're using a base software to create a whole new function or a whole new product out of its base code. So you don't have access to the original code, but you have the ability to use it to build upon to create something else. And it's the same for encryption. We're taking just our source code files, which is the TCL code file, and we're encrypting it so that it can't be used by others. Now, what does that mean for you? Does that mean that it is completely locked out from you and you can't add to it or modify it? What does it mean if NX does a change and all of a sudden the code is broken? Now, do you have to go back to the reseller to get it fixed and pay, or is there methodology that they've thought about for this? So, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. So first, let's talk about what types of encryption there are. So one of the most common is your sold to ID. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to lock it to your facility, your company, so that if you have a buddy down the road, you can't just give it to him so that he can use. We can also do an expiration date. We generally only use that for trials, or if we know something is going to be coming out in NX, like we did from version 12 to the continuous release versions, we could put an expiration date of when that came out so that it alerted our customers so they didn't go forward in a version and then it not work. We wanted to fully test it before it was rolled out to that new version. So the post configurator encryption tool, it can also be used for post builder, post processors. So if you have a post builder, post processor, you can encrypt its TCL code just the same way as post configurator, post processor. But previously in our post builder tool, we didn't have an encryption tool. So it was in industry, it was used, a different tool was used that created PP decrypt files. And in that instance, it did encrypt the entire product. So the thought process that's been carried over into the post configurator tool is that of post builder, and post configurator just is not the same methodology or principles. And that's the reason why there's confusion in industry on what does it actually mean when a post processor is encrypted. So as I was saying, only the TCL code gets encrypted. So if you look at the left-hand side, pre-encryption, you're going to see all the same files, except you're not going to see a PCE file that's associated with the TCL file. So the left-hand side, it has already had its original TCL file encrypted, and that's why you see a mil3access custom.pce file. But then once I ran encryption the second time, it encrypted my service layer. So now you see a service layer PCE file. So then you take the TCL code files out, send that to the customer, and that is an encrypted file. So it's just the coding behind how the tool data was pulled out of and put into your header of your post processor, or the way that we made NX work with probing and grab the data and do closed loop machining. That is all proprietary to companies, and they want to work very hard at protecting how they came to that conclusion. So what is this? What does it do once we encrypt a file and encrypt the post processor? As I said, it only encrypts that TCL file. So what happens in those instances where, say you buy a bar feeder for your lathe, it wasn't built into or coded into your original post processor? How does that function? What if NX has a revision that breaks the post processor simulation kit? How do you fix that? Are these all things you have to go and pay for? No, it's the reason why is because Post Builder is built upon a 3-file principle. It's one entity of code to produce a single product. The way that Post Configurator works is it's layers. It's built upon layers. So you have a machine layer, you have a control layer, a customer layer, and you can have several service layers. So if you bought a post processor simulation kit from us, we would encrypt it. And then say 2 years down the road, NX came out with a change, and then you go to use it in the new version and it says it's broken. Well, you can put a layer on top of it just to correct what has been broken. If you say you buy a bar feeder, you can just put a layer on top of it, a customer layer, to be able to add that functionality to it. So it doesn't limit you at all. It just limits your capability of going in and using our code base to be able to either develop or add to or profit from. So all we're protecting is our IP at that in that instance. So with the layer technology of Post Configurator, it's a much different tool. So there's no fears that customers have to have about something being dead in the water at the time of purchase, or that we're going to end up having a time where we need to modify it and we're going to have to pay again. It's not that case. You have full capability, full ownership, no licensing. You own the product. You just cannot get into the base two or three layers of TCL code that are proprietary to us. And that's what explains down there. The only thing that's encrypted is the source TCL code. So what I have prepared is I'm going to run through a sample demo of encrypting a post processor, and so that people can see the ease of it. So to get into Post Configurator, it's in your ribbon. You just be in a manufacturing file, or you can browse out to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just browse out to a sample that I have prepared. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at the Post Encryption tool, or the Post Configurator tool. Now, the pieces in which you're going to utilize to be able to add anything to it or correct anything is your layer manager. We can add in layers to this any way we see fit: customer library, service libraries. These ones are the ones that are going to be encrypted. That's the ones that we have built, and we put a lot of extensive time and effort in those. You can add layers on for anything else that you see fit. Once you have your post processor simulation kit the way you want it, or if we were completed, we'd come to the Post Encryption tool. You would add your SOL to. There's a very specific way that this has to go in there. This is not just your SOL2 ID. You have to go through, create a log file, and this will be set right here. This is what has to be inputted in that line. And then if we wanted to do an encryption for date, then we would add an expiration date. And once I process this, then you would have a TCL file that was encrypted. So now if I come to look at that file that I just encrypted, see I have my PCE files that are encrypted TCL code. This TCL, this TCL. So the process of encrypting, it doesn't stop the customer, hinder the customer at all, period. So let's see, do you guys have any questions or answers?
Thank you, Mark. So it looks like that we have 2 questions. So that first question is going to be, why encrypt at all?
As I said before, if you've been involved or exposed to post-processor creation or ISV kit creation, it's very extensive in the background, and it's no different than a software maker creating an actual program, or they have hours and hours and hours into the best ways of creating that, the best ways to make it modular, the best methodology of creating more off of it. There's a lot of work put involved into creating just a little bit of code. So when a company puts forth that kind of effort and that kind of cost, they want to protect it at all costs. So it's no different than anything else out there in the world that you use on a daily basis. Almost everything that we use is encrypted from the source code. Even if we have access to be able to use it to build other things, the base model is encrypted. It's just the only reason why it has even came about in industry, because it is a very, very common thing. It's going to be very difficult for anyone to find a post builder or an ISV kit builder that does not encrypt. That's the reason is because it's costly to build those base files. In post builder, it was very common for it to be encrypted, but it was also well known that it was that, and that's it. So that was the thought process that was then continued in continuous release in post configurator. So then when we deliver post configurator post processors, and in wording or contracts or in talk, and we say the term encryption, we get pushback and we get hesitation on, well, explain this to me. So this is the reasoning on why I had this topic, was so that we could all understand exactly what was getting encrypted, why it was being encrypted, and what does that actually do to the product.
Perfect. And then we have one more question. So the next one is, do I own the post processor or is it licensed?
So that is a good question. So that the way that it is perceived is it's just a licensed item if we own that source code, and that's not the case. Is you own a product. When you buy a car, you buy the car. You don't buy the code to the CPU. So it's the same process. You're buying a product from us, you own that product for its entirety, no licensing. If something, there is warranties and maintenance and things like that, just like any other software, but the customer always has the ability to be able to add to or modify, and you own the rights to every single thing, and there's no licensing or subscriptions or fees.
Perfect. And then we just had another question come in. So will you need a separate license to build a MTK or ISV in NX?
So MTKs are post builder, machine builder ISV kits. The or I should say simulation kits. ISV is post configurator, machine configurator, and you have the capability out of the box to build post processors. You just don't have the capability to go into the TCL DEF editors. That requires the advanced license. And then if you have the ability to go in and use any of the kinematic samples out of NX, change its sheet metal, and go into the machine builder and modify them. But if you want to build true ISV kits from scratch, then you have to have machine configurator and post configurator advanced.
Perfect. Well, I think that is all of our questions that came in. So please join us for our next session where we'll be talking about what's new in Team Center 3212, and that will be on March 7th. So this session will be available on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to access tons of useful original content. And yeah, thank you so much for attending and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.